This riot was no walk in the park. I'm Rebecca Lieb.
I'm Jason Horton.
And this is Ghost Town.
After the same neighborhood erupted in a riot after the city tried to enforce a curfew. That night, police and squatters battled each other for 4 hours. An amateur videotape captured police hiding their badges or removing them to prevent identification. When it was all over, hundreds were left bloodied and battered, and only a handful of officers were reprimanded.
A year ago, police were armed with helmets and riot gear, and many had their badges covered as they enforced the curfew in Tompkins Square Park. It turned into a pitched battle with the homeless and their supporters and innocent passersby. As police brass and Mayor Koch later acknowledged, a police riot.
All right, I'm getting down. I'm getting down.
Paul Guerin took this videotape of what critics called a police force out of control. 50 people were injured, 121 complaints were filed with the Civilian Complaint Review Board. Most of them remain
I got 2 coach tickets to New York City if you want to go.
I love New York.
Actually, it's standby. You have to go standby. So I know. Well, that's what we're working with.
I got time.
Did I mention that these tickets for this plane also goes back in time?
What?
Yeah.
No, you didn't. You specifically did not mention that.
I should have led with that, but
you should have led with the time travel, not the coach standby.
No.
I think so.
I want to take us back to New York City, the year 1988, and talk about the Tompkins Square Park Riot. Now, there is another Tompkins Square Park Riot in 1874.
Okay.
You know, this park was kind of known for a place to make a stand.
It's riotous.
It was riotous. So
Yeah.
we're going to talk about 1988. You know, I love talking about anything in the 70s and 80s when crime and economy and class struggle is like at a high. I'm sure here in LA it was the same way, and you know, across the US and the world, but
Definitely. And also the visibility of riots in the middle of New York City. Damn.
Yeah.
You know? Just a protest, a riot in New York. The LA riots were insane. But it also feels like, I think, and this is just me talking as it is, like on the other side of LA, people are like, oh man, there's riots happening. Wow. In this abstract way. But in New York, it's like, you can't escape it.
no, I mean like a parade in New York at some point could turn into a riot. You know what I mean? People are very. I don't know. You're in a. What are you in a fishbowl, or you're in a I don't know,
fishbowl,
pressure cooker,
cesspool,
whatever you want to call
melting pot,
wherever you're in. I guess it would really depend on how much money you had in the bank. But so we're going to talk a little bit about that because I went. I was in New York. We did a previous episode on the Eastern State Penitentiary. That was in Philadelphia, but I was in New York. I saw Billy Joel. I know this is not going to help paint the picture, but I saw Billy Joel, went and visited the Instagram offices. Again, this is not helping paint the
get those in-person likes.
And get those,
Do they filter? It's like, what is the Instagram office like?
It was, it's Instagram, then it's also Facebook. A dream job if you want to work in an office environment, an absolute dream job.
What were the snacks like?
The snacks are nonstop, all day. Gelato bar. They had a smoothie bar. Nonstop.
Who goes
snacks.
with the smoothies when you have a gelato bar?
I did. You
were like, you want to dump the gelato in the smoothie.
I did. Yeah. So took advantage of that. No, it was very. It was super cool. That was fun. Had dinner with my sister. She works she works on Spring Street, so we went and had some dinner. It was good. Saw Billy Joel, 70th birthday.
Right? Oh my God.
Peter Frampton came out and did 2 songs.
Of course he did.
Of course he did. Everyone was like, "Oh, Springsteen's going to come out. Springsteen's going to come out." But it was Peter Frampton was great. He did.
He was great too. Are you upset that Bruce Springsteen wasn't there?
Oh, I was like, "Oh, this is going to be it. This is going to be it."
Yeah, you're like, I'm going to die after this.
And then a bunch of people sent in these FaceTime calls with there's pre-recorded calls. It was like Paul McCartney, Pink, just everybody, every cool person Maybe even John Mayer. You know what I mean?
What?
And maybe even John Mayer. I don't know. Maybe,
there's so many people who are really still into John Mayer.
Yeah. Now, I think he's playing guitar for the Grateful... Either Fish or the Grateful Dead's... I don't know if it's Grateful Dead's like Experience. One of those.
I just remember him as like... He would always date people and he was like...
Really cool with them and really nice and
yeah,
a
he
model
was really
boyfriend.
nice. Yeah, he like would send them like I love yous and like dozen roses.
They break up with him. It's like you're too perfect.
Exactly. I can't live up to this standard. Yeah, he was a great person.
Yeah. So that's what happened with him. Like, this is what I remember. That's what I was told.
Yeah.
On middle-aged white guy message board, that's what they were saying.
Whoa. Okay. And you're like, yeah, obviously, I trust all of you because you're me.
Yeah.
You're
Thumbs
all
up.
me on different sides of the world. So John Mayer wasn't there.
John Mayer was not there, but
John Mayerless, Billy Joel.
There was people from like just a ton of different countries, and it made me anxious because it's like, what if you came all the way here and he canceled? Because Billy Joel is, he's 70.
Yeah.
Like, I'd be really rolling the dice, but I mean, it's worth it. It's Billy Joel. I got a Billy Joel trading card.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and a birthday hat.
Birthday hat?
Yeah.
What does the birthday hat look like?
It was just kind of like
a Burger King.
Yeah, it was like kind of like a pointy one with a little thing. This is "Happy Birthday, Billy" or whatever it would said on it. I broke it immediately by snapped it around my big fat head. So, I know.
My dad would say that's a collector's item. Don't put that on your head. Save it in glass.
But my brother and I went, had fun, had a good time. That's what we did. Yeah, but you lived in New York.
I live here.
You lived in New York.
Oh, lived in New York. Yeah,
you lived in New York.
Yeah, I do. I would love to live there again. I love New York. When I was there, it was really a fraught time. My ex was there, and I had this job that I took after a week. I got hired, and like I had to be there the next week. So it was a really like scrambly, fraught time when I was in it. But now looking back, I was like, oh my God, New York was so fun. I made so many incredible friends out there that I still am in touch with.
The bagels.
The
bagels,
pizza. Right? The sounds of the city, hey, I'm walking here.
Yeah, black and white cookies.
Yeah, exactly.
The taxis.
Katz's jelly.
Yeah, they had black and white cookies as tires.
Times Square. Yeah, exactly. It's really fun. It's just like Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen's movie about going to New York. New York Minute. New York Minute. Only it was mid-30s Minute.
Yeah.
Starring me.
Yeah.
Nobody.
And it went straight to
room share situation. It went straight to nowhere.
And I've talked about my experience in New York because I went as a commuter because I had no reason to live there, couldn't afford it. But I started going, earliest memories, late 1970s. Seen some, saw a lot of this stuff. I actually watched a documentary on the Guardian Angels. Are you familiar with the Guardian Angels? They were kind of like they were sort of like a task force, you know what I mean? Like they had red berets, and they would just like I'm trying to think of the word I'm thinking of when you citizen, like a citizen, a citizen type thing. I remember them being in the subways as like no weapons, but just kind of like this kind of force and saying, hey, we're not gonna, Of course, like, Bernard Goetz was a subway vigilante. It's like a lot of that was going on.
So why didn't you stay in New York? Why did you move to the West Coast?
Well, I loved New York because I really loved the music scene, like the punk and hardcore music scene. But when that kind of like ended for me, I didn't really see much. I always loved New York, but I never really wanted to. I stayed there a lot. I worked there. I commuted there. And then, honestly, it was like very close after 9/11 happened. Like, it was like things were kind of like, because I was working I was working near Wall Street, not on Wall Street, but I happened to be working near Wall Street.
He wasn't a finance psycho.
No. And it was
adjacent.
it was just a lot of things, and I always hated the cold, and but I've always loved New York, and and I love Los Angeles, and I don't know, I love love, I guess.
Just choose.
But my memories of New York City, and then kind of I look back in New York, I love looking at photos from any time, but basically the 70s, 80s, maybe like 90s, I'll get in there. And then by early 2000s, I'm like, okay, I get it. But if you want, we can go to 1988.
I would like that.
Great year.
I was just a small
I was just
child.
a sprung 39-year-old.
wrong.
No. I'll say I was not quite in high school yet, I guess is what I'll say. Is that the nicest way I can put it? But when I was in New York, I went to Tompkins Square Park. I actually recorded some audio of me being there. It wasn't that interesting. I was going to include it, but I didn't really get much out of it, except for the fact that it's, it's obviously, it's a lot nicer. It's still kind of a little bit, it's still some interesting folk walking around. It's not like, they're all like that, but it's not like Bryant Park, which is like pretty, shop and stuff like that. And Central Park is mostly, Central Park is a lot of it's very, very touristy or a place to go or be. And this, you're going to find some interesting people there too. But
sure,
it just, reminded me of going and hanging out like on St. Mark Street and loving, the village,
of course,
the scene.
Totally.
So I went there. So I was like, let me be there. When I talk about this, I have a little frame of reference. That's try to explore, and we both do. We try to explore as much as we can, if we can.
Naturally curious people.
So we're not just, reading information. Reading.
Yeah.
We're mostly
Wikipedia. Do not get us wrong.
Yeah.
We are not historians, but we also will try to go places
and be there. So I think that's what people, somebody was asking, like, what's the difference really with us? And the difference is other people do it really well. So I think the difference is we will, as much as humanly possible, we will have experienced the place.
Yeah.
Which, does that make it any better or worse? That's up for you to decide.
It's totally you get to choose. It's your prerogative.
You're
in control.
I'll do a little plug. Only do one plug.
Just one
to
plug?
our Patreon. Which is 2 bonus episodes a month. If you want more episodes, there's a ton there. There's got to be like at least 12 to 16 episodes.
You want those bonies.
It's only 2. That's what's ruining it. That's what's single-handedly bringing down this podcast.
Oh no!
And I promise we're going to get to the episode, but it's 2 bonus episodes a month and some other stuff. It's patreon.com/ghosttownpod. It helps because we're submitting to festivals and we have some costs. So that's helping support us do that and do live shows in other cities, maybe one near you.
Oh, totally. We want to do that. We want to get as close as we can to the places to give you the best product we can.
Also, I think Castbox has been kind and kind of featuring some. We're doing a lot of live Q&As on Castbox, so make sure to download the Castbox app and follow Ghost Town on that. And I think they might you might see us featured by them soon. Maybe they've been really great and super supportive. So check out Castbox. But you don't know this yet, but the Patreon we're for one of the Patreons this month is going to be. I honestly was debating on whether to do this episode or not.
Really?
On Patreon. And Patreon's usually light and fun.
Yeah. Light,
this
fun,
one will
cheeky.
not this one will not be light.
Whoa.
Nor it will be fun.
Not light or fun?
No.
Everyone don't tune out. Keep with us.
It depends. Like if you want to get a little dark,
I like to get dark.
Well, then you might want to go to Patreon. I'd say go there now. You'll find right now? It'll be probably the most current one. And
if you're driving, pull over.
It's a bit of an interest. It's just so interesting to me that I had to do it. But it is a little bit depending on who you are. This might be a little much for you, and you'll find out why when you see it. I'll put a description on in case you don't want to listen.
I'm excited.
You might not. Well, I am going to put in the description what it is because in case people do not want to hear it. We don't normally do disclaimers here.
I feel like if it were just up to me, this podcast would be like rated X all the time. But you're like, all right, we got a PG-13 this shit.
Yeah.
But like, so I like when we get dark. I like when it goes there.
Yeah.
Jason.
Yeah, and I'm feeling like going there a little bit. I feel like I'm just, I don't know. When the summer comes, I'll get dark.
Exactly.
Winter comes, I'm like, let's brighten things up here.
Yeah. When summer comes, you're like, no sundresses, no super blooms.
No.
All mayhem.
So patreon.com/ghosttownpod if you want to check that out and support us even more than you already are. Thank you for everyone who's been rating and reviewing us on iTunes.
Even my ex-boyfriend who drunkenly reached out to me via Facebook Messenger. We have not talked since, I would say, 2009. We had a chat, and then, of course, I plugged the podcast.
Yeah.
And he said, we'll have to look up and see if on iTunes, I was like, please rate and review.
Well, the most recent one is not great, so I don't think that was...
Him?
No, I don't think it was. It was not very good. But we appreciate, listen, you're taking the time out.
I said for him to say that he's my ex-boyfriend and please rate and review, and that didn't happen. Jesus.
No.
He never listened to me.
No.
All right. Well,
I
fine.
know. I think there's some stuff on Instagram. Let me just check, which is Ghost Town Pod. If you want to follow us on Instagram, I think. Let's see if we have any. I know we have some.
Any fun ones?
Somebody suggested MK0628 mentioned the Fairfield Hills Hospital.
Ooh.
A little bit haunted. I believe
into
that's
that.
I believe that's in Connecticut.
Yeah, Fairfield, Connecticut.
Yeah, I
To
believe.
Stop on the train.
I believe that it is. Let's see. Talia Skiaka. Probably saying that wrong. Sorry. Love your podcast. Listen every week. If you ever go to Memphis, check out Ernestine and Hazel's. It's one of America's most haunted bars.
First of all, I was just talking about going to Memphis.
Okay, well, maybe
I would
we
love
can
to
there.
go.
Maybe we can do a festival there. We went a few weeks ago, dozens of pictures with orbs and mysterious faces. You're almost guaranteed to get an orb in one of your
God.
pictures.
Send us a pic.
Hold on. It's also known for their soul burger, where I guess you eat
Burgers
someone's soul.
and orbs.
I think you eat someone's soul.
And you're full. You have like little.
You still want nachos after that.
Oh, okay.
You
okay.
still,
It's
you
like
still
a little heartburn, but like you're still full.
You still
of
want
soul.
some nachos.
Damn.
I think we had another one, but it was from Miss Egos, and it was a Instagram story. It was very kind, but I do not know. It's gone now because it's an Instagram story. So little that.
Love it. Thank you guys so much for reaching out. We appreciate all of it. Yeah.
We'd love to
on
communicate.
Instagram, ghosttownpod@gmail.
Yeah.
But let's get
Let's
to
get
it.
to
Let's
it.
get to the shit.
So I'm going to be mainly talking about August 6th and 7th, 1988. Tompkins Square Park, East Village, Alphabet City. The way I take to get there is go down St. Mark's, Avenue A. Boom, there's the park. Also, I remember when I was younger, there was where you could go in Alphabet City. Like A was always like, hey, it's good. B was like, be careful.
Yeah.
C was like,
see you in hell.
Pretty much like, wait and see or see what happens. D is dinner. Just a bunch of restaurants. No. D was like
your dog meat.
You're dead. Yeah, D was dead. So that was, and I'm not. I don't know now how much that is, but it's still. I mean, it was always known as a pretty especially in at least Avenue A. They're right there in the corner. There was a bar. If I'm going to be talking a little bit about the hardcore scene in there at the time because it's going to go to a place. For you true crime serial killer people, I'm going to get you there. I'm going to get you there.
God.
So this is not just for me because I love to talk about the hardcore scene around New York City or wherever we're talking about, but I'm doing it to get us to serial killers and true crime, which I know some people
am
want.
ready. I want to take this journey.
Oh, it's going to be fun.
I packed my day bag.
But there was a bar that now is called Niagara, but it was called, I think it was called King Tut's Wawa Hut at a time. Yeah, and then
yes,
for the hardcore scene, like the kind of the beginning of the hardcore scene, like just more important maybe than like CBGB's or some of the other clubs, is A7, which is but now it's called Niagara. That's right around the corner.
There's now a yoga studio called A7 in Silver Lake.
Oh
yes.
yeah, not
not the same. Okay,
I mean probably the music's the same. it's just very very aggressive yoga, which I'm cool with.
Yeah.
So, the 1980s, Reagan, right?
I've heard of him.
Reaganomics.
Heard of them.
What trickle-down economics.
Right?
Who did help? Trickle-down.
No one.
No one. It's unless you're rich.
Exactly,
It pretty much was kind of like
Very
broadening the gap.
convenient. Exactly.
Broadening the gap. It's, I know in like Europe and England, it's like a class thing. And this is like, there's just a, but it's here. It was like a real class war. It was a real economic separation. And, in the 1980s, that park was like a very, art, culture, music, a lot of squatters, a lot of punks, a lot of, street people used to hang out there a lot. And I don't know if you ever heard this. I think it might be a myth. It's called gentrification. Have you
Oh,
heard of it?
gentrification?
Yeah,
Me?
yeah.
A white woman in Echo Park?
Yeah.
I don't think that exists.
Oh, okay. Hey, just when you go out to that Starbucks, make a left at the Chipotle, and then
That's right, the Habit Burger?
and I'll see you at Urban Outfitters.
Yeah.
Mom and Pop go bye bye.
Yeah,
I call that
exactly.
Mom and Pop go bye bye.
Yeah.
So gentrification was like beginning because a lot of people talk about when Giuliani he really cleaned up the city. True, but it started when Mayor Koch was there. I always remember seeing and hearing him in the news or whatever because there was the mayor of New York City and he looked like a mayor. He just had that kind of like I'm a mayor, a mayor look.
Yeah.
Gentrification was becoming a huge problem, so they were just like, we got to get these people out of this park.
These people, we don't understand them or their circumstances.
But they're not spending any money, and probably one thing. And it's like, if we want to like make these places nicer and people with money to buy them and spend money in this area, we don't. We talk about gentrification in Los Angeles like right now.
Yeah.
And that's been been going on for quite some time.
It's been a long process, definitely.
Yeah. And in New York, no different. It's starting and Reagan's like, yeah, things are prosperous. It's like if you were poor, no, you were not prosperous.
Not
if anything,
at
it was
all.
maybe getting worse for you. And there's a lot of drugs,
Exactly.
Heroin use. There's got AIDS, and we got just general poverty, and we got a lot of violence, and we got a lot of issues with police brutality, and then just how to deal with the amount of crime that is hard to manage. So some of it's pretty understandable. Like we're it's not just a matter of like, hey, everyone's just there, playing acoustic guitar and cops are cracking skulls.
Exactly.
It's like,
It's not
listen,
like-
some of these things is like, yeah, I'm always free for the protester, and I'm always for the, I'm not like big on like the man, but sometimes it's like, I'm realistic.
The idea of talking about this is like making my blood boil. Like,
Right.
And I'm from a Wisconsin suburb.
Yeah.
But I hate cops.
Okay.
Yeah. Just like, all right. Especially the brutality that is acceptable based on what has happened. And I mean, LA too, all over the place, where there's so much systemic misunderstanding and so much miseducation of problems. And I feel like, oh my God.
Just bad cycles and
Yeah.
stuff like that. I
Awful.
mean, listen, I am, I've had my issues with police, a lot of it my own doing, and that's on me. But I'm also, a white, seemingly regular white dude. So I've been, I guess, have not had to deal with what a lot of people had to deal with. And yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of bad cops, and notoriously it's been, in New York, a lot of and a lot that are just like, I'm just doing my job, and it's a hard job, and it's, under a lot of duress. And I get that, and especially at this time, it was very, very hard. Not excusing anything. I just, I don't want to, like blanket anybody or anything.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And maybe Nazis. We can put them all.
We can say Nazis are bad. We can probably
all-
say Klans people are probably not fun.
Yeah, not fun.
Not cute.
It's not great. But I mean, police is like,
dictators who facilitate genocides are probably like, I don't know.
Yeah, but police, there's good and there's good and not so good, and sometimes
And
the not so
pretty bad,
good
and then,
is
like, really bad, and like
because
whoa.
of the circumstances. Sometimes the bad is just because it's just straight up bad, and that's in anything. There's a lot of corruption.
There's
and
a lot of corruption.
There's a lot of.
You're right. I feel bad that I said that I hated cops.
No, but
There's
I
some
know
nice
what you
cops.
mean.
There's some
are.
nice cops.
Yeah.
I've met a couple of them.
Yeah.
But am I scared around them? Absolutely. Am I trying to be on my best behavior?
Sure,
so
yeah.
I don't repeat thing about, my worst cop story was I was drunk in my friend's car, and he actually had a lot of weed at the time. I think he was selling, but I'm not sure. And I was so drunk that I got out of the car to throw up. This is next to a Cracker Barrel in Wisconsin.
Okay.
And a cop stopped us, and the cop looked at him, was like, white guy, was like, you okay? Everything okay? Do you want to be breathalyzed? And thank God he was like, no, I'm good. Even though he was silently freaking out because we were both 20 years old. And he's like, what about her? And he's like, yeah, she just got sick. She's fine. And then I kept throwing up, and then the cop came over to me, was trying to touch me, and I wrestled him down, and then he handcuffed me, put me in the back of his police car, then handcuffed me to the side of the police bench in the police station. And I waited there till morning to get out when my friend was just like sitting in the parking lot.
Did you get charged with anything?
Yeah, underage drinking.
Oh, okay.
And belligerence. Or like
Okay.
whatever that like drinking, I forget what the name of it is. I was a good kid. I was
Yeah.
a good law-abiding,
So it's just a
not
unfortunate-
angry at all.
Yeah. Unfortunate, you know.
Yeah, but that's
situation.
like, again, that's like best case scenario, really. And I'm a white woman of privilege, so
Yeah.
I can't even imagine.
Sure. So we got that out of the way.
Yeah.
We're, people are probably like, I'm sure we're.
They're like, are they of color?
Yeah.
No, they're 2
they're
Jews
not.
in front of a microphone.
So there was the organization called the Avenue A Block Association was like, let's get a 1 a.m. curfew in there and enforce it. And if you know New York City, it's the city that not goes to sleep at 1 a.m.
No, it's not. It's
It
not
does
called
go.
that.
It does go to sleep though. By 4 a.m. it's asleep.
By 4 a.m., maybe. It's the city that naps when it's not on cocaine.
Yes. But so 1 a.m. is like peak.
Yeah, 1 a.m. is like, we're about to go out. We just did
Yeah.
our last looks of makeup.
Yeah.
Do not, what? Our night's just beginning.
Well, maybe the drug dealers like this is when like the businessmen come to buy cocaine or heroin or whatever pills or whatever.
Yeah,
So
and pizza. And
and pizza,
and some
you know,
pizza
late-
slices,
late-
some pizza
late night
pie.
So that did not make people very happy. There was a group called Friends of Tompkins Square Park, Tompkins Square Park, that spoke for the underdog, for the people that just the poorer people that lived in that area and resided there. And when you have a curfew, it becomes like a little bit,
It's very Germany circa 1940s.
it could become very like it could very easily just become out of hand and just not be a good look.
Can you imagine nowadays someone being like, hey, LA? And LA is not like a late night city, really.
No.
Hey, LA, you all have to like be in your homes by a certain time.
Yeah, they were like, well, I was going to be anyway, but now that you're saying I can't.
Yeah, they're like, they're like, we have to get up because we have a long hike in the morning.
Yeah.
/ a meeting, an 8 a.m. meeting with a studio.
Yeah, so, but don't tell us what to do.
Yeah.
People just don't like to be told what to
Yeah.
do, I think is also part of it. So on June 28th, 1988, the curfew was approved for 1 a.m., which is like, I mean, it sucks that it happens anyway, but at least it sounds better than like 9 p.m. But I feel like if you watch a movie, it's like 9
But
p.m.
like 9 p.m., only white people can stay up till 9 p.m.
Yeah,
I
I mean-
it's like 9 p.m. if you have sold your soul. you
Yeah,
know?
it's so that was approved. July 11th, the NYPD would confine the homeless population to the southeast portion of the park, kicked out the rest of the population who cannot be contained in the stated area. And NYPD began to closing the park down. By July 31st, the protests started kicking off.
Yeah.
So this is the warm up. This isn't the ride. This is like, let's warm this up.
Yeah, they're like, we're angry and we're going to make a stand.
It was
take a stand.
I think there was like the curfew was becoming like installations, and there's questionable police ethics of the homeless. Protesters were met with hostility and aggression from the NYPD.
Yeah.
I mean, it's makes sense.
It all does make
Yeah.
sense, honestly.
So I mean, gentrification was part of the problem because that was a lower income. Now it's good luck affording it. All these
Exactly.
places like
I know. I'm
Brooklyn,
kind of
like, are you
jealous
crazy?
that you got to experience New York when it wasn't completely gentrified.
Yeah.
and so insane.
I mean, it's I mean, when people talk about it, it's like, oh yeah, I live in like Park Slope or Bed-Stuy. I was like, I was told you never ever go to Bed-Stuy.
Yeah.
Never ever ever ever.
Now
ever.
Bed-Stuy is
Yeah.
so cute.
It was
Totally unaffordable.
It's just imagine being told like you do not. But I heard that about Echo Park. Like Michelle was like, you don't go to Echo Park.
Yeah.
Like, and now it's
And now 40 matcha tea rooms later.
Yeah.
Here we are.
it's just like vaporized. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that
It's
vape
like
life.
It's that vape life. So a lot of the homeless, because homeless increased. Drug dealers were like, this place is great. Parks are great. We love parks. There's a lot of Nazi skinheads. There's not all skinheads are Nazis, but the neo-Nazi movement, skinheads were there. Yeah, it was just, they wanted to just, detour some of the illegal activities. 'Cause previously it was a 24-hour open park.
Yeah.
And then, then there was a riot, and then it led up to the big one. We're going to call it the big one. We're going to talk about it. Was it break time yet, or we're not need time for a break? What do you think?
I think we should, yeah, absolutely.
Let's do a break, and then we're going to get back into...
I got broccoli roasting.
Yeah, you got broccoli roasting, and then we got to talk about gentrification and the Tompkins Square Park riots of 1988. All right, cool. So we're back. We're back. August 6, 1988, that's when there was the next protest. There's two sides to this. Well, maybe there's three. There's one side, the other side, and then the truth, right?
Oh.
But there's still versions of a lot of, things. Some people say the police were the aggressors and attacked the peaceful, protesters, which turned it into a riot. Because, it's like you got people peacefully protesting, or at least not warranting violence, we'll say, and then if you start seeing police, get step over that line, and then other people are like, oh, okay, so this is how it's going to be. So now let's escalate things,
Yeah.
Let's go full tilt on this. There was just bystanders or social activists, NYPD, neighborhood residents, journalists, people were just assaulted left and right. The riot continued until 6 a.m. of August 7th, 1988, so August 6th through 7th. And the second day of riots, Ed Koch, the mayor, temporarily ended the curfew. So, and so kind of, protesters would march down St. Mark's, which St. Mark's used to be amazing. I mean, that was like a classic, village for like punk and even like the folk movement and stuff. Now it's like, there's like this store, Search and Destroy, is probably the only recognizable place. It was a club called Coney Island High that I used to really love.
I'm
and it's
still
just
thinking King Tut's Wawa Hut.
That was. I don't know what year that was, but I just know it was King Tut's Wawa Hut.
I will never forget that. I will lose some precious family memory because I know that name of a bar till the day I die.
So about 200 protesters, although police say 700, people say 200. I don't know if it's 700 means, hey, listen, there was a lot, and for us to handle that much, we got to step everything up. So there's a discrepancy in how many were there.
Yeah.
They
just take a photo and count the people. Easy.
Why don't you just vlog it? Just vlog it. Just live stream it. I don't understand.
Fine.
It was not on Facebook at all, which is very suspicious.
Okay.
Was not on Facebook.
I
Nobody.
Call bullshit
Yeah,
on this.
not
This
real.
didn't happen.
They had banners that said "Gentrification is class war," and started with Captain General McNamara of the 9th Precinct. He had 86 officers and 11 on horseback stationed at the park. And, people were hurling empty bottles, escalating the police. The rioting went through the night, both sides, injuries. There's, again, people saying how many people were actually injured.
Yeah.
80, 100, 200. But this is all captured on film. So there we go.
Oh.
You
mean like in an Instagram story?
By future Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg. What? Clayton Patterson, East Village resident. There's 38 people who suffered injury, including police officers and reporters on the scene. 9 people were arrested on riot, assault, and other charges, and 6 accounts of police brutality were logged with the Civil Complaint Review Board.
Okay, so this, oh God, yeah. I mean, you can piece it together. It's so interesting, like, the different people's perspectives and the different sides' perspectives. 200, 700, who, injuries. Like, it's so hard with riots in general to tell what went down, who actually escalated things, who broke the law, who got hurt, who, I
don't know if you could really, maybe I'm bad at this, but I don't know if you could really fit 700 people in the park at once, or even if having them like on the outskirts, like having them on like Avenue A or like up the other streets.
Yeah.
So the complaints to the NYPD were over 100. Video, it's 1988, so there's, cameras existed, video existed, officers striking protesters, kicking defenseless people while they're on the ground. The police commissioner, Benjamin Ward, so, you got to answer the commissioner.
Yeah.
Was placed blame. Mayor Koch, who was critical of the management of the park and who approved the 1 a.m. curfew, became critical of the police intervention after being confronted with the evidence and testimonial as well. I mean, it's like, hey, guy, listen, they got you on camera doing this, so I'm the mayor.
Yeah.
I wish people would just leave and not bother me, but
Absolutely.
I don't know. I don't know if I remember him fondly or not. I probably can find reasons to and not. But at least he wasn't like, hey,
Yeah.
At the time, Gerald Ford is a newspaper article. It's very famous. Gerald Ford, Ford tells NYC drop dead.
I like it.
Yeah, that was in the 70s. So this, it's very interesting.
Wow.
So there's a New York Times article, a piece of it, and you remember Allen Ginsberg?
Yeah.
Poet, you know what I mean?
Totally.
Peace
Howell?
pioneer of
Sure.
somebody who's part of the movement. The police panicked and were beating up bystanders who had done nothing wrong and just observing, said Allen Ginsberg. The poet who lives in the area said a house guest from Kansas was surrounded by 6 officers doing one police charge and was beaten with clubs.
Wow.
And so I'm sure if you didn't look like,
a clean cut.
a popped,
Yeah.
a popped collar, Wall Street.
Exactly, like a Ken doll.
Yeah,
A nice
with your
pose
hair
were
nice and parted.
Exactly. Also, God, a poet living in the East Village.
Yeah, come on.
They were different times.
Yeah. The police say, it was justified. Is that weird?
Yeah. Oh, we were right.
Yeah, what are you talking about? And,
I don't believe
And
this.
again, I like to listen, I don't know, you should be trained for these kind of things, but I got to assume that, some people, have to fear because there's got to be some people, at least in that park and protest, that are like, looking to hurt some cops.
Yeah.
Just throwing that out there. There's got to be a
Maybe.
little of that. But it doesn't, listen, it's going to be, if I'm going to weigh those two things, it's probably the police just being like, we're not dealing with this and we're going to show you we're not dealing with this.
Yeah.
And we don't care who. But you got to know somebody who's just like somebody playing their acoustic guitar sitting on the ground. You don't need to kick them with your jack boots.
Yeah, totally.
but-
it's so hard.
but what do
for
I
me.
know,
I'm so biased against cops.
Yeah.
It's so hard for me to
Yeah.
wrap my head around it. But yeah, I mean, things can escalate lots of different ways.
They said they only cleared the park as ordered, dispersed people who were blocking the surrounding streets, and used their clubs defensively when missiles were hurled at them, which would be, I guess, a bottle or.
Yeah, when you say missile, just say broken bottle with
Yeah.
lighter fluid inside, like a missile. Relax, cops.
So I hope you saw what the hell was going on, because we didn't start this, at Captain Gerald McNamara, commander of the 9th Precinct. We did everything in our power not to provoke the incident. They didn't charge the crowd until the bricks and bottles started flying. So there's that. But, there was video, and it just didn't look good. They probably didn't think about that, of kind of like, it's, there's no body cams or anything like that.
Yeah, which is something where I always badmouth stuff today, like social media and all of the culture on that. But at least now we can kind of capture some of this stuff and illuminate
For better
it.
or worse, we can capture
Yeah,
everything.
exactly.
So I mentioned I wanted to go in something kind of adjacent to this, because I was going to get to some serial killer stuff. So perk up, everybody. Around the same time in the park, they had there was a thing called Rock Against Racism, which was like a movement, and they had free concerts in the park, Tompkins Square Park, Central Park, Washington Square Park. Some of the bands, they were kind of like in that. I would put them in the peace punk crust. Anarchist kind of. You think of punk is not necessarily like the bands themselves were like, the Sex Pistols. It wasn't necessarily like that, but it was kind of like that kind of like post hippie kind of, kind of a message, like bands like Reagan Youth, Nausea, some other bands. Well, so one of the bands that played was called Reagan Youth, and the singer of Reagan Youth has a very interesting and tragic story.
Ooh.
So, this band Reagan Youth lasted while Reagan was president, 1980, 89.
As it should, kind of.
Yeah, it makes a lot of
It's a
sense.
good shelf life.
So his name's Dave Rubenstein, he was Dave Insurgent was his kind of street name, and he became kind of like one of those.
He didn't
hippie,
keep Rubenstein?
He didn't keep Rubenstein. But he was ended up having dreadlocks and tie-dye. It was a very interesting thing to see a band that was like Reagan Youth was obviously a very, very anti-Reagan, the kind of tongue-in-cheek, like what the dead Kennedys were doing, sort of, using Klan imagery and Nazi imagery to, to shock but we're very like leftist, So this guy, and they were very popular in the park at that time for these concerts. Like Reagan Youth was one of those bands. So the band, so this is probably, and he became a junkie who's addicted to heroin.
Wow.
So in the same year, this dude who's already had a drug problem and issues, his mother was killed in a car accident.
Holy shit.
He was put in a coma by drug dealers.
Oh my God.
He had to have a lobotomy to relieve brain trauma.
In 88, people
this
still...
This is probably like 93.
Okay.
So it's right after
that's
that.
Worse.
I'm just telling you what happened to
Dude, nobody gets lobotomies in the 90s.
He had to get lobotomy. His girlfriend was a prostitute, and she was a prostitute, so you can keep buying smack. Can I say? John comes and picks her up. He's there, with her, and she's like, "All right, babe, I'm going to be back in like 20 minutes." That John that picked her up was Joel Rifkin, the serial killer.
Whoa.
Yeah, who killed a bunch of, like, I don't know how many, up to like 20 women in like Long Island and New York.
Oh my God.
And when he found, because, the guy, Dave, was just like, "Hey, listen, my girlfriend's guy went to the police and they found her like decaying in the back of his truck."
Oh my God.
Yeah, so I told you I would get you there.
Rough year for that guy.
Yeah, he killed himself with an overdose. Right. I mean,
Jesus. Yeah.
But I mean, like, I don't know, no judgment.
Like, circumstances of those events. Like, I love when people are like, yeah, just positive thinking, the secret.
Yeah, do yoga, get outside.
Exactly. Like, raise your energy levels so you can have a better life. And it's like, oh yeah? What about this fucking dude?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
He was
no.
just had low energy levels? Fuck you.
Yeah, it's a very kind of understandable, like super tragic thing that was
God, it's
adjacent to
awful.
the story
How
that we
old
were
was
telling.
he?
28.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's a pretty famous kind of like hardcore thing that, was part of what was going on then. So I just figured I'd take a little detour because I always remember, Tompkins Square Park and then these like Rock Against Racism.
I don't think I've ever been to Tompkins Square Park.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, if you go to the Village,
I mean, I must have.
You must have. You must have been on St. Mark. You must have
Yeah.
been on St. Mark's. You just walk all the way down St. Mark's until you hit A, and you're there. It's right.
A. All about A.
Yeah, it's all about A.
Hey.
This is great.
Yeah.
So
I gotta check it out next time, but I gotta be careful because all those missiles in my purse. Not appreciated.